HeirofCarthage here, and what the crap's going on? Welcome to the Charnel Valley, a picturesque place where the Tomb Kings, well, they're entombed. And the dwarves came here looking to steal some of their gold and, mithril, or, oh wait, that's from J.R.R. Tolkien, my bad. So the dwarves came here expecting to find some Tomb Kings. Well, they've found something a little bit different. I guess someone had ideas to plunder those tombs before the dwarves. So yes, not something you would expect to see outside of the forest, but here is Khazrak's hordes. So yes, this is an all-Vanguard Beastmen army deploying, completely surrounding a dwarf army, and what happened to be a perfectly set ambush. We will see how this ambush ends. Can the dwarves fight their way out and go on to plunder, or will the Beastmen simply make plunder of the dwarves? There are going to be 4 Centaurs with great weapons right here with Khazrak facing the front line of dwarves who have a strange, sand dune kind of embankment in their way here. There's a bolt thrower here and a cannon on the other side, both being supported by miners with blasting charges. In the second line are some dwarf warriors, then thunderers, then dragonback slayers. Did I say thunderers? I meant hammerers, because the thunderers are right here. 3 of those, 2 more dwarf warriors, and 2 iron drakes with trollhammer torpedo. Now this is a pretty risky dwarf army up against the beastmen, in the sense that the beastmen have a whole lot of fast-moving, armor-piercing capability in the Centaurs. However, we'll see whether the beastmen player can micro his troops right. It's one of the challenges when you end up in these ambushes against a faction like the dwarves who have a lot of armor. You have to make the kill fast. However, dwarves have a lot of leadership, and it can sometimes be hard to make that kill, and the longer the battle draws on, probably the more it favors the dwarves, especially if you're not able to get rid of their skirmishers. Let's take a look at the Beastmen army. Over here, we're going to have 4 gore herds, several ungore herds over here, plus 2 more, some Centaurs with throwing axes, and then, like I said, Khazrak was the leader. There is no magic here. It's a bit surprising, but dwarves do have some magic resistance. Would have been cool to see some piggies here. The Centaurs with great weapons don't get the best of charge here on the first unit. They do get a decent charge here. Without infantry support, though, Centaurs with great weapons can fall apart really quickly. You can see back here that the trollhammer torpedoes turn quickly onto a blob of Centaurs with throwing axes, and so things not starting off great for the Beastmen here. There's a few key mismicros that have been made, and you can see the rest of the Beastmen forces coming in. Hammerers can kill these kind of Beastmen for days unless they get a little bit of loss of leadership. You're going to see all of the Beastmen pouring in. Here comes Khazrak, the One-Eye, looking to get into battle himself, start whipping these stunties. Love to see him whip and get one of the stunties by the neck and stuff, start tossing them around. There's a Rune Lord back here for the dwarves, and there is a lot of initial chaos caused by the Beastmen. This temporarily gets some of the skirmishers for the dwarves tied down. However, the Centaurs with great weapons take massive losses early, and this is pretty tough. Very tough, in fact, for the Beastmen. These Centaurs are best used in a situation like this. You really don't want them going head-on with infantry. You want them hitting infantry units in the back, and these hammers couldn't be a better place for the Beastmen to get some value for their buck. And now you're seeing these Centaurs swinging around, hitting different targets like they should, and the dwarves start to pay a pretty stiff price over here on their right front flank. But back here on their left rear flank, the Beastmen have paid the stiff price, and these dragonback slayers, normally suited for, well, slaying a dragon, I suppose, are having no problem slaying this strange Centaur creature. You see that they have that well under control at this point. Though the Centaurs with great weapons are throwing their weight around everywhere. Now, slayers don't like getting charged. They'll take a fair bit of damage, but it doesn't take long for them to start dishing some pretty severe damage back to these lightly armored Centaur units. There are a ton of gores and ungores still left. None of them have armor-piercing capability, though the Blackhorn Ravagers here do have some pretty serious attack going on right now because of apocalyptic vision from Khazrak. And Khazrak really needs to be in dousing the stunty leader. He's all tied up in combat right now, and Khazrak needs to get over here and crack the Rune Lord and maybe have a chance to drop the leadership on these dwarves. I say maybe because the dwarves have some tremendously high leadership, and it can be very difficult to deal with. So the Beastmen started off at a bit of a disadvantage, pulled some of it back, managed to get the stunties beaten down fairly well, but now, again, like I said, as that fight drags on, and the Beastmen units begin to tire, the armor and defense of the dwarves can start to come out to shine, and then the Rune Lord is able to use his Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin, and it is causing some pretty significant damage. You can see here that the Blackhorn, or is it the Blackhorn? No, it was just the Goreherd. Would have been better to have it on the Blackhorn Ravagers, but nonetheless, it is going to cause some pretty significant damage. Now, the regrouping dwarves getting set back up, coming back for seconds. You can see the Trollhammer torpedoes getting set up as well. Not a lot of large targets here, but don't kid yourself. These guys will cause some damage given the opportunity to sit back and fire, and that is an opportunity that they do have at the moment, until these regrouped Centigores want to get maybe just one more crack at these little stunties. Now, these Centigores, there's not much of them left, but with their armor piercing, they should be able to quickly cut through these Iron Drakes, and so that's going to be one Iron Drake unit that the Beastmen get out of commission. However, these Dragonback Slayers back here, 121 kills and climbing. And then the Hammerers over here, 117 kills, 106 kills. Hammerers are not always a great pick, but in this case, they were a great pick. As long as they're not getting rear charged by the Centigores with great weapons, these are the only dwarf units that have decent attack. You don't really need their armor piercing per se, but like I said, they have good attack. Now, the downside to this is that they have pretty poor defense compared to other dwarf units, that is. It's not absolutely poor, but it does allow them to take quite a bit of damage from the different Beastmen units. And they don't have a shield. That's really the reason why their defense is quite a bit lower. It's a very rare thing for a dwarf to not be carrying a shield. That is one of those scenarios. And this has become a very close fight here. A very close fight indeed. Let's take a look for Khazrak and the Rune Lord. We can see Khazrak in this fight. The Rune Lord's still keeping his distance from Khazrak. Khazrak would tear through the Rune Lord relatively easy if he was able to stay at it long enough, but you can see the Rune Lord does not want to stick around and fight the one eye because, well, he knows that with both his eyes that is a bad idea. In fact, I guess with even one eye, he would be able to tell that. Look at the lame puns, folks. So yeah, he's going to get the heck out of there. Khazrak really needs to chase him. He has a speed advantage. Khazrak has 48 speed, the Rune Lord only 32. But Khazrak is concerned about these guns sitting back and shooting him, and you know what? That's a pretty fair thing to be concerned about. You can't just let the dwarf guns continue to fire away, and then over here the Trollhammer torpedoes managed to come back for another round. These ones as well, though these Centigores, ooh, it's going to be close to see who can finish who over here. Back here, some Ungorherd chasing off these units. It's actually kind of important because there's Thunder out there, even though those units are badly needed over here. There's another gun unit that is reformed for the dwarves, though this one routes. And again, Khazrak's full attention needs to be on the Rune Lord. However, it doesn't immediately go that way. These Slayers are a waste of time for Khazrak. They're going to cause a lot of damage to him, they're going to poison him, and bog him down in a fight he doesn't want to be in, and that actually gives the Rune Lord the opportunity to come up behind him and get a hit in, and cause him a little bit of damage, but you can see that the Dwarf player absolutely knows that the Rune Lord doesn't need to stay anywhere near Khazrak. The Dwarves are in pretty bad shape at this point. Many of their units are routing. However, if the Rune Lord stays alive and these units start to come back, it could get ugly for the Beastmen. And just that thing is starting to potentially happen here as these Thunders get set up, and they have a very clean shot at Khazrak, who now has to run across the Charnel Valley to get back to him. He's being hit in the back with Trollhammer torpedoes, which would shred through his armor if they hit him, and some of them did hit him. And the Thunderers also cause a lot of damage to him because their bullets ignore his armor. Khazrak does not have a shield. Does look like he has a little bit of missile resistance, an 8 to him, yeah, 15%. And there's just this single Ungorherd, but now that these skirmishers have come back from routing and are spread out, again, the fact that the Rune Lord wasn't targeted earlier comes back as a major bite in the Beastmen butt here. Major bite. There's some more Ungorherds over here doing their thing, and Khazrak just kind of keeps committing and decommitting from fights. Some of his infantry gets routed here by the Dragonback Slayers. A little bit more Beastmen infantry coming in, but again, going to be caught by the Dragonback Slayers. Khazrak just needs to kill the Rune Lord. We'll see whether or not he is able to. Now we have a gun unit back here, hammers inbound, Trollhammer torpedoes unloading on him, and they are causing a fair bit of damage. This is allowing the Rune Lord to potentially get hits on him for free. A second unit of Trollhammer torpedoes set up in the background. Only 3. But it doesn't take many of these things to do a lot of damage. Take a look here. So Khazrak now caught up in this fight, and he's getting hit by the Rune Lord and continued to be fired on by the other Trollhammer torpedoes, though they don't always land a hit. take a look at the fight progress here. The Rune Lord able to stick in the fight for a while, but then decides that maybe he doesn't want to be a part of this, and if he backs up, it's just going to give a shot to the Thunderers, who are just waiting for an opportunity. The Rune Lord is in their way, but as soon as that line of sight gets clear, they could potentially fire, but then these regrouped Ungor herd put an end to it. Not before they don't get a little bit of a volley, though. And those Dragonback Slayers following close behind, and on top of the corpse of their fallen brethren on both sides. The deciding point of this battle, which I was surprised didn't happen earlier, and still with his slow speed, the Rune Lord managing to literally run circles around poor Khazrak. And now he's going to run away and let his Slayers come in, so not really sure how the speed of Khazrak was not able to keep him on top of the Rune Lord with another very daft dodge there. And Khazrak finds himself in trouble. The Rune Lord now going for the axe in the back, looking to seal the fate of this battle. It is quite close, though. The Rune Lord is in bad shape, but if Khazrak drops, which he does, then really it's over for the Beastmen. They're not going to have the leadership to survive this, even though some of their units had regrouped in the background just a hair too late. And so what was set up as the perfect ambush became a fail, unfortunately. And that's not meant to be mean. The player who sent me this had mentioned to me that this was a perfect ambush fail. I loved the setup, man. The setup was absolutely beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful ambush setups I have ever seen from the Beastmen. It was really cool. Obviously a few missed micros, but that's easy to do when the battle is fast and furious and gets started and you don't know where your opponent's units are going to be and you have to quickly attack. It's something that takes practice. Really cool to see Grey Knight trying to pull this off, so I appreciate him sending this in. It was definitely an enjoyable watch, and the Serenity can wait. What a survival there. Those Dragonback Slayers clutching it out from beginning to end. Very nice kills on the Hammers, though only one of them really picking up an EXP, probably because the Beastmen units were so cheap, and that's why they weren't picking up a whole lot of EXP for the kills. However, one of the Thunderers did. That's not terribly surprising. The Thunderers did do some pretty severe damage, even though they were pretty quickly caught up from multiple directions. Like I said, if the Beastmen are going to come in and win these fights, they have to do it quickly. One of the ways that they can do that, and not all dwarf units succumb to it, but a cool feature is, like, especially against the dwarves, maybe you get a Bray Shaman on a chariot, Lore of Death. You can use lots of different things, actually. So Doom and Darkness is an effective way of nerfing enemies within a range. But you can also use, Doom and Darkness. I meant, oh crap, now I'm going to forget the name of it. Soul Blight. Soul Blight debuffs all the units in an area. Doom and Darkness will take away leadership, which sometimes is enough to get the dwarves. But really what can be quite good is Aspect of Dread Knight, combined with a Doom and Darkness drop, and so that allows more units to spread terror. So for instance, let's say that you get some units engaged with your Ungor herd, you cast the Aspect of Dread Knight on a Centaur, which now allows it to cause terror, and then you pop a Doom and Darkness in that area, and you got to make sure that it's dwarf units that are susceptible to it, not Longbeards. Longbeards are not susceptible to it, but other units are, and you can terror route dwarves and then chase them out with your light cavalry so that they don't come back from routing, which allows you to finish the job. So I think that Bray Shaman, Lore of Death, could be a nice addition to this type of Vanguard army, and a way to be able to do even more damage with it potentially. Thank you for sending in the replay. It's fantastic. If you all want to see more awesome replays like this, make sure you subscribe and then hit that bell to be notified. I'm giving out Steam cards to people who have notifications turned on because they get to the video first, and I'm putting Steam wallet codes on some of the videos down in the chat. And if you get there, you're going to find yourself with 20 bucks in your Steam wallet, courtesy of Air, just for supporting the channel by subscribing. So thank you very much to all of you. We are well on the road to that 250K. I can't wait to celebrate with you at that milestone. Thank you for the support. I will see you all soon.